So, ladies, gentlemen, thank you for being here on a Thursday evening. I appreciate it. As you all know, those that are on the call and many, many more agents are onboarding to Circle. Let me just make a couple of things clear. Every agent with AMP is being required to onboard at Circle. If they don't onboard at Circle, we're going to find out why, and then we want to engage with those folks, right? This team is 110 agents strong and growing by 5% every month. So this time next year, I won't be shocked if there's a couple hundred of us, and you have tremendous resources on Circle. You've got 7 leaders. All they want to do is support you. It was fun to hear Cassie emoting what she experienced today at the Columbus board. I talk with Khadijah every week, so I love her enthusiasm for the business. These are the kinds of things that are going to drive this team to newer and better heights. Having said that, all of our Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturday meetings are going to emanate from Circle. I apologize for being a couple minutes late. I was on a Zoom with an agent. The only thing that's going to stay on Zoom are the one-on-one coaching. So our coaching on Thursdays, Tuesdays, and Saturdays will all emanate from Circle. That's one reason why everybody needs to onboard. The second thing that everybody was asked to do was to set their standards for their business. This is going to be extraordinarily helpful to your leadership group to identify those areas that you're comfortable and confident with, those areas you have curiosity about, and we'll certainly hold ourselves accountable for those. That second step, when you set up these standards, that second step is going to be the leadership team's going to collate all these, and we're going to find out what our weaknesses are as a coaching staff. Because if we've got 110 agents currently and 90 of you say, hey, I'm more curious and don't know enough about Bold Trail or open houses or geo farming, we're going to recognize those, and those types of coaching classes are going to become more preeminent on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So that's the 2 steps that this team is taking together to move forward as a team and increase everyone's volume. If some of you may not have been on the call on Saturday, so I'll repeat this and then get into tonight's agenda. The team in 2023 generated $40 million worth of sales volume. Now we have more folks, so we expect that number to go up in 2024. Annualized, we're going to produce $71 million worth of real estate sales volume this year as a team. So that's outstanding news. We're growing rapidly, and that's the reason for these. That's the reason for these things. Justin, you might want to mute yourself if it's you that's. That's the reason for these changes to our coaching methods and style. It is incumbent upon us as leaders to ensure that each and every one of you reaches the level of success that you set up for yourselves. And guys, that's different across the board. We have plenty of agents that are, with the life that they lead, social life and family and their faith, and some of you have work outside of real estate. 4 or 5 transactions a year is plenty. That's all that their life will allow them to handle. Please don't think that by joining AMP, the leadership groups expect you all to go out and do 20 plus transactions a year. Some of you want to, and we'll get you there, but many of you don't. And that's perfectly fine. It's what we set up AMP to do, which is to assist the broadest number of agents to achieve their definition of success. With that said, one of the things that we're launching is lead generation. So we've done a lot of research on the various lead generation platforms. We actually launched a Realtor.com lead generation about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago. It was reasonably successful. We absorbed the cost of that, as we're doing with this. And so we're going to launch a lead generation system, and it's called Facebook Forms. Basically, it's an ad campaign that will be set up for you on Facebook, and it will generate, there'll be ads, and it will generate leads for those that sign up for these leads. I want to make sure, and I'm always cautious when I'm talking about lead generation. So Khadijah and Cassie started the conversation with ways in which they're growing their business, their experience, and their expertise. Khadijah, and I didn't hear all of your conversation, Cassie, so forgive me, but it was an outstanding opportunity for you, Cassie, to network with folks from Columbus Board and grow your level of experience and expertise. Khadijah, your input in that part of the conversation, as I understood it, was community involvement, networking, sharing your experience and expertise. And you said it really well. The last thing you said was, I definitely want to help folks when it comes to real estate. So these are all outstanding ways to grow your business. And they all have one end goal, and that is to engage with Sphere. People that know you, like you, and trust you. If they don't yet know you, you get to know them. If they don't yet know you and like you, you get to know them better enough that they like you and then trust you in real estate. Back-end marketing is what we practice here. That does not mean that we don't pay attention to pure lead generation, because we do, and we are. But it means that I'm always cautious as the founder of AMP and one of the leaders of this team, to ensure that as we engage in this pure lead generation piece of our business, and right now, let's separate these two things in our minds very clearly. And I've worked a lot with Khadijah over the last weeks, and she is extremely tuned in to her community. Very tuned into that. And she mentioned it, so I'll say it. It has to do with her culture, understanding that, and she's able to connect very easily and very quickly with those that are in her community. That's Sphere. That's the folks that are already comfortable with, probably know of her, like her immediately because they're in her community, in her sphere, in her culture, and they will grow to trust her very quickly. It is the quintessential definition of back-end marketing. We start with the folks that know us, like us, and trust us. So as we engage in this lead generation process, one of the things about lead generation that agents who involve themselves in lead generation presume is that because somebody clicked on an ad, they must be ready to buy. In this case, buy, because we're going to be focused on buyers. So they must be ready to buy. Okay, that gets us very quickly to a paycheck. And I'm speaking very bluntly this evening. That gets us to a paycheck. That's a transaction that's going to happen sooner rather than later. I like that. I got involved in real estate to make money. I want to be of assistance, but I want to make money. This money will come quicker. Put the brakes on yourselves if you get involved in lead generation, and understand that back-end marketing, what we practice every day and coach very hard on every day in this system called AMP, is the best way to market, grow, maintain, and sustain a real estate business that will feed you and your family for years to come. I've experienced it personally, and the best real estate agents that you know. When I say best, I mean the highest volume producers. The top 3% of real estate agents in the Columbus Board of Realtors all are experts at back-end marketing. If you talk to Rick Reno in Westerville or Delina Siamaco, I'll say New Albany. I'm trying to associate these agents with an area. And there are others, many others, that are in the top 3% of producers. They are sphere producers. All of them are sphere producers. Lead generation systems are nothing to them. They don't need them. They don't want them. There are exceptions. Sandy Rains in New Albany. Her entire business model is lead gen. She spends thousands of dollars a month on lead generation. She has an army of, I'll call them headset wearers. They are licensed agents who sit in her office, take the phone calls, and convert the leads. That's her business model. So I'm not saying that it doesn't work and work very well if that's your approach to business. Let me bring this to closure. I'm saying, please focus on Sphere, networking, social media, Bold Trail, conversations with people. And if you involve yourself in lead gen, understand that your business is back-end marketing. 67% of an agent's business comes from Sphere. That's a National Association of Realtors statistic. It's not mine. Mine is 96%. My personal business comes 96% of the time from Sphere. That has a little bit to do with how long I've been doing it, but it has a lot to do with what I do every day, which is what I ask each and every one of you to do, and your leaders ask you to do, is to involve yourself in your standards list, which comes from the business template that we've created for you. So with that cautionary tale, took me too long, I apologize. Lead generation. So Sheila Howe joined our team, it's probably about a year ago now. And she started working with various lead generation systems. And I will speak on her behalf. I don't know if she's on the call. I'll see if she's here.
I am.
Okay.
I don't know why my camera is not working.
That's all right. Sheila, if I say anything that's inaccurate, just interrupt me.
Oh, you know I will.
Yes, I know you will. So Sheila came out of marketing. She was in the corporate world, very successful, dealt with a lot of high-end clients, and she was surrounded by people who were in that world. And when we started engaging on these one-on-one Zooms, it quickly became apparent that Sheila very much was uncomfortable with Sphere because her knowledge and experience in real estate didn't give her the comfort and confidence to engage immediately with Sphere to create transactions. So she chose a different path. And we call it in the world, it's called the imposter syndrome. She was concerned about that. She had a high level of respect from the folks that she knows in the business that she came out of. So she was uncomfortable with trying to translate that skill set to real estate. So she went down the road of, hey, let me take my skill set and let me start working slowly with Sphere, but more rapidly with leads, lead generation. Let me attract business to me by setting up Zillow and setting up Facebook forums. She did a lot of research on these various lead generation systems. And one of the ones she landed on was Facebook forums. These are ads that are placed on Facebook that are curated. They're specific to either a city or a zip code or a particular geographic area. And the way Facebook forums works is it allows you to put on the ad questions that the person who clicks on the ad must answer. So it curates the ad for you to some extent. Now, this is all algorithmic, right? So Zillow, Realtor.com, Boomtown, all these other lead generation systems are very broad in their algorithm. And what I mean by broad is if you're breathing and you click on something that downloads to Realtor.com or Zillow, that's a lead to Zillow or Realtor.com. Now, did I capture that too hyperbolically, Sheila?
No,
Maybe.
basically, they will see the ad. It will show up as sponsored in the client potential leads feed, and we're going to have an ad that will hopefully get them interested.
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm asking you for your input on Zillow and Realtor.com as it relates to their veracity and efficacy. Have you found that the Zillow and Realtor.com leads or the other lead generation systems that you're involved with are take a more 10,000 foot view and you get a big cross mix of leads? Is that accurate?
Not the way that I work with Zillow, because I get a lead on
Okay.
Zillow. That
Okay. Good, because you then took what you learned with Zillow and applied it to Facebook forms. Is that accurate?
they're different.
I know they're different, but you have the ability to curate a lead through Facebook forms very specifically that allows the algorithm to learn about what leads come to you.
Yes, because
Okay,
it will get smarter the more the ad runs.
got it. So thank you. So back to the point. When you're talking about lead generation systems, OpCity and Zillow and Realtor.com, there's a very broad pool of people that those particular leads could potentially attract. Potentially. Now, Sheila's got Zillow leads figured out, and you all on the phone call might want to consider connecting with her and considering that as well. It's more expensive, but you could consider it. When Sheila came on board and started these lead generation systems, this was 2023. It was October, as I recall, and she launched her first Facebook Forms ad campaign. And based upon that ad campaign, if I use the word overwhelmed, would that be too hyperbolic? Sheila was overwhelmed with leads. She ran it in October and November and maybe into December or cut it off.
I cut it off mid-December.
Okay. So it ran from the first part of October till mid-December, and then she cut it off. Why, you ask? Because there were so many leads coming through that she did not have the bandwidth, none of us would, to deal with all of them. Smart business person shut it off and started sharing those leads with other AMP team members that had the bandwidth to take them on. So historically or statistically, the system that we're going to launch on November 15th works. It will generate leads for sure. That's number one. Number two, they will be, from my perspective, and Sheila, you can add to this, please, more curated than you might find on other lead generation systems that you don't have to spend nearly as much money on. Is that accurate, or what could you add to that, Sheila?
Yeah, I think that's accurate. The piece that's a little bit unique, though, is they take a little more work. They're not, they might not be as ready as something like a Zillow lead.
Yes. Okay. I love that input. You would think I wouldn't, but I love it because it goes back to what I started this conversation with. Guys, what Sheila's referring to is it takes a little bit more work, is it takes more back-end marketing work, communicating, nurturing, and growing trust. So if you're going to engage in the lead generation system that we launch on November 15th, it's going to mean significant engagement on your part. couple days ago, Sheila and I came up with one asset, we call it an asset, and then another kind of template. And Gina Warner started all this. She provided the leadership group with a template that she had used in the past for following up with what we could call stranger leads or cold leads or lukewarm leads, whatever you want to call it. And we have created a template that we're going to provide to all of those AMP agents who sign up for lead generation. It will give you 20 days worth of texts, emails, phone calls, voicemails that you can provide to the lead to engage with them and nurture them so that they would end up doing a transaction with you. The other thing that we came up with that we thought was fairly unique was we came up with an asset, which is a gift or something that we provide back to the person when they click on the ad. And I'm not going to give away what it is because I think it's really cool, but it's an asset that you can email to or text to, put it on your phone and text to the person who you're engaging with. So we've got a hook to this lead generation system. We've got an asset for you to provide. So we have something you can provide of value, significant value as it relates to the real estate market. We're also going to provide all of you and those that watch this video that sign up for this with a spreadsheet that assists you in keeping track of your leads. So you'll have a system in place. We will put a system in place to distribute them, and you'll have an asset, an Excel spreadsheet to track your leads. So let's talk about stats on, first of all, any questions so far from anybody? Justin, anything from you? You're muted, and maybe you're not paying attention.
No, I'm paying attention. I'm listening. Just cleaning out the garage. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. And I looked over the 20 touch points. I think it's a really great, fun, accurate way to stay on top of these leads. And I'm excited.
So what was I think you and I figured this once, and I have a figure in mind. I just forget what we ended up with. What was your conversion rate out of 100 when you were in the business of chasing transactions and converting leads, Justin? I think I know the number, but give it to the crowd.
I averaged about 12%, and that was for Zillow and Realtor.com.
That was the number that was in my head. So guys, you have 1 out of 7 leaders, 2 being Sheila. Gina has worked leads before and is very good at it. You have a lot of leaders on this phone call that have a significantly higher conversion rate than what's typical. What's typical is 3%. So that means you get 100 leads, 3 of them are going to buy. And no lead generation system will promise you more than that. If they do, they're not telling the truth, because that's the statistical fact, right? It's 3%, 3 out of 100. Justin's at 12. Sheila, her stat, and she tracks the dollars, which I love. For every dollar that Sheila spends, the return on that investment is $3. That is a significant return on an investment. So understand as you're listening to me emote about how we're going to launch this and what we're going to do for you and how it's going to come about, you have an opportunity to get a significant return on your investment. Now, your investment, which is interesting to me, is nothing unless you close a deal. When you close a transaction, whether you're on the typical split with Red One or you're in Rev Share, that particular closing will be subject to a 25% split with the AMP team. No matter what your current split is, no matter whether you're on Rev Share or not. It's not in addition to your current split. It's the only split on that particular deal, 25%. So if you're new to AMP and you're on a 20% split for your first 4, and one of these is a lead generation split, it becomes 25. But it's not 45. It's not both. It's just the one. So there's no cost to you for these leads up front. There's only an expense when you close something. And according to Sheila's statistics, she spends $1, she gets 3. You would have to, you would each have to do a kind of an analysis of your time spent in order to get some kind of analysis on what your ROI is on that. So the time spent with a client, nurturing them, communicating with them, no matter how long it took, and finally closing them, you'd have to figure out if that's worth it or not. In my opinion, no matter what time you spent, it would be worth it. But you can do your own math and make that decision. So again, any questions so far? Sheila, could you chime in here and just describe how this is going to work on the back end and what it's going to produce for us to then distribute? How does this work?
Yeah, so basically, a lead will see the ad. They'll say, "Huh, I'd like to know about this." So they click on the ad. They have a form, and they'll fill out their name, email, phone number, and whether or not, like, the time frame of when they're looking to buy.
And that's
And
based
then,
upon the questions we ask them, correct?
yes, yes. So they will fill out the form that asks those questions. That data will be populated into a lead center that sits within Facebook. And then the leaders will have access to that data, the lead center. And then we'll kind of rotate through, and we'll have a spreadsheet with everyone that's signed up for this. And then, because we want to make sure that they get out quick. And I can't sign up to watch the leads form or data every day. So we're going to kind of rotate this through. And so let's say that I have Mondays. Monday, I would look and say, okay, here's the agents that have signed up. Next up is Matthew and Tamara. So I would send out, if we got 2 leads that day, I would send those off to the 2 of you. And then the next day, let's say Gina has Tuesdays. Then Gina would, hop into the lead center, and she would then assign out the leads that show there. And what we will share with you is, of course, their name, email, phone number, and the information about when they're looking to buy.
Perfect. So it's going to be very quick. And Justin said this the other night on his Saturday on his training piece of this. The speed to the lead is critical. So if you're going to be involved and you're involved in lead generation, be ready to get that text. I think we're going to probably end up texting them, Sheila. Is that what we decided?
The leads?
Yes.
It will probably be easier to send the email, but we will send a text that says, check your email.
Okay, very good. So the lead will come via email to you, and we'll text you to let you know you've got one. And then your life is going to be what controls how quickly you can get to those folks. Guys, understand that we fully understand if you sign up for lead generation, you've got a family, you've got a social life, you've got your faith, and you've got, many of you work outside of real estate. So we get it completely. If you don't think you can get to these quickly, certainly that day, I'll say this as lovingly and respectfully as I can. Don't sign up for lead generation. Lead generation is way different than working with your sphere. I've talked to Matt. I've talked to everybody on this call. Cassie, you and I have not one-on-one. I'd love to do that if that's something you want to do. But I know a lot about your lives. And so if it's something that you think will improve your experience and expertise in real estate, great. And these leads on a percentage basis need to be closed. We don't care if it's a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, or a year down the line, but they definitely need to be closed. This is a business, and we need to see a return on our investment for these leads. We'll keep it going for however long it works. Guys, we're committed to ensuring that those agents that are on this team and come onto this team have this as a marketing, I'll call it a funnel, separate from their sphere. Now they'll be treated the same as sphere once you're engaged with them and they're in a transaction, but we're committed to keeping lead generation going for well into the future. If you're committed to converting them, sign up. If you think that your current life circumstances are not going to allow you to follow up with these, just hang loose. Don't put yourself in that position. It's not fair to you to do that, and only you. I mean, when ask Justin, when he was busy going through 100 leads to get 12 of them to say yes, that's work. Justin, any feedback on that? That's work.
Tamara has a question.
Tamara, I'm sorry, I should have checked my chat. Did
She just raised her hand.
All right, I did. Oh, there's the hand up. Tamara, you go first, and then Justin, your input. Go ahead, Tamara. You are muted. You might want to unmute first and then ask your question. While Tamara does that, Justin, feedback on working leads to get 12 out of 100 to say yes.
Yeah, my experience, I was a brand new agent. I was very nervous talking to leads on the phone when I first started, and I did not think I would be. We're likely going to be texting these leads out of the jump, so it might be a little different, but it was a little bit of a challenge for me. The more I did it, the better I got at it. One thing that was crucial with that type of lead was the speed to lead. I went out and I was so afraid I was going to miss a lead because they would come through to my email, and I would, the first few days or first month or so, I'd see them, maybe 30 minutes later or 40 minutes later. And with those types of leads, it was too late by that point. Not necessarily, but ideally you'd like to get to them in the first 5 or 10 minutes. And I went out and bought an Apple Watch solely for the purpose that I would see them immediately when they came through and I'd be able to reach out to them. So yes, it was work, and just getting comfortable with those conversations. Our scripts and our role playing are, whether it's text message, email, phone calls, are definitely going to come into play. And we're going to, as a leadership team, we're going to continue to drill down on those and really fine tune them so that you have the tool belt to nurture and convert these leads. But it's also going to be fun. It's a portion of AMP that, like Mark alluded to earlier, we've tried a couple different versions of lead generation. They were moderately successful, but we really feel like this is going to be a version of a lead gen that's going to bring a lot of value to the AMP agents. And, we're not the typical real estate team. We're a coaching platform, but we are going to do our best to supply a steady flow of leads for those agents that are willing and able to jump on board with us and execute them. So again, I'm excited about it and happy to help however I can.
That's great. Tamara, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Maybe it was an accident.
Yeah, it could have been. All right. So moving along. Guys, I am really excited about this because of the conversations and engagement I've had with Sheila on her success as it relates to the sheer volume of leads. So she has a level of experience and expertise in this. She and I have drilled down on what the ad will look like, the questions it will ask. We can change that. In fact, we even decided when we were meeting that we would try a couple of different approaches. Right now, what we're thinking of, and this is a decision, so I shouldn't say what we're thinking of, we decided to do it this way. We're going to choose 5 cities around 270. And we're going to stretch out the radius around those particulars. No, we're not going to do that. What are we going to do, Sheila?
That's the way that we had started, but then after we talked through it, it was like, you know what, we're overcomplicating. Starting out, we're going to start simple.
Well, okay. So we're going to start out with
Columbus.
dropping a pin on Columbus and going out. What did we decide?
I think we said 25 miles.
25 miles. And we're gonna run that ad for a while. I just chose the wrong thing to start first. I apologize. If that has efficacy and it's working, we're going to stay with it. If not, we're going to bounce that off of choosing 5 cities and going 15 miles around those and see if the difference between Columbus and a radius of 25 miles generates fewer or more, better or worse leads than choosing 5 actual mailing addresses and a 15-mile radius around those. And the reason I say it that way is because what Sheila has discovered, and we all know, and we train this on AMP, on Facebook, you have to teach the algorithm to do as you asked. You can't just presume that what you're attempting to do is going to be something that it immediately picks up on. So if we bounce these 2 approaches off each other, whichever one works best will be the way we'll go. And what we talked about was, will people click on an ad that might be relegated to Dublin, Reynoldsburg, Gahanna, Hilliard, Canal Winchester, Westerville, Worthington, you name the city? Will they be more apt to click on that versus Columbus with a radius? We don't know yet, but we're going to find out, and you're going to get fed all the leads no matter which way it goes. Whichever way is more effective, that's the direction that we'll stay with on a more consistent basis. So now that you know quite a bit about lead generation and that it's launching November 15th, I would very much like to take the next 15 or so minutes and just answer questions. So if anybody has a question, please speak up.
I'd like to ask the team if anyone has tried boosting through KV Core.
Has anybody on the call tried boosting a listing through KV Core? Sheila, in defense of those that were silent, I'm sorry, Gina's going to answer in a second. In defense of those that were quiet, the way we train is to take a listing and share it on your Facebook and Instagram, and it's free. So that's defending those that did not answer. Gina?
I've done the boost a few times on different listings of my own or other agents that I know, the areas that I wanted to market to, and I always get leads. Now, the quality of those leads varies a lot, but I always get hits on those boosted posts.
Yes. So it's kind of similar to that, except for the fact with when you boost in using KV Core or Bold Trail, you don't get this additional layer of data that the lead is going to share. So that is why, it really excited me because I was able to connect with them a little bit better than what I could through the boosting of KV Core. And then when Bob Petty teaches this on the Wednesday nights, I think he was saying if you can get like $8-9 a lead, that's pretty good. The form I was using last year, I had it down to like $6-7, and I had that extra information.
Yeah, so it allows you that future nurturing. And these dollars that Sheila is referring to, guys, are the cost to AMP that you will not experience as it relates to when we do the math. What is each lead costing us? to generate for you. So don't worry about that particular item. Who else has questions about lead generation or anything else? We beat this lead gen thing up.
Well, I just have a comment. It's not a question, but from my experience, I've done a lot of Zillow leads in the past. I closed like 65 Zillow leads in 6 months one year. So I was working my tail off. But you have to stick with it. You can't just try to call them once and then give up and say, well, I tried. No, you have to stick with it until either they die or you die or they tell you to go away or they say they have another realtor or something very definitive. You just cannot give up. I mean, you might space out your communication some, okay, if they're not responding, but you don't stop trying to communicate with them, because you will be amazed 6 months or a year how many of them will come back and they'll be suddenly start responding. And you're like, where have you been? And they're like, I just wasn't ready. And so you just have to use that lead information to stay top of mind with those people. And you don't stop trying to connect with them basically ever.
Yep. And I will say the leads that I experienced, they were very, very diverse. So like they were looking for very different properties. So from an experience perspective, I like that because it gave me it challenged me in a lot of different ways. And as a new agent, it was scary, but it was also beneficial for me. It helped me get over my imposter syndrome, so to speak.
That's a favorite theme of ours. I just want to piggyback, Gina, on what you said, and then again, we'll open it back up for questions. Everybody on the call has probably heard this, perhaps with the exception of Cassie for the people that I can see. Let me just say, Sierra's heard this, Grant's heard that. Most people have heard this. But let's be very, very clear on our mandate as marketers of real estate services. And that's the best word I can think of. It's our mandate. And Gina mentioned it earlier, where you stay with these folks and, suddenly 6 months or a year later, they come out of the woodwork and say, oh, it's time now. Well, she made a really good point in telling that story of her experience. And this is the point. And maybe we'll end with this, but I'd really appreciate more questions. You've heard it. I'm repeating it because it's important for it to be imprinted on your heart and imprinted on your brain. What Gina was saying, if I expanded upon it, is none of us can control when the time is right for somebody to buy, sell, or both real estate. You cannot control that. There are other things that are in control of that, and it's called a person's life. They experience things in order to make a decision, which is the largest financial decision they'll make in their lives, that I'll use the word force them to buy a home or sell their current home and buy another one. They experience things. We all know what those things are. In our world, 12 months being a calendar, they are spring, summer, fall, and winter. And there are reasons why people move in spring, summer, fall, and winter. And you're all aware of those things. In the spring, everybody wants to get into their new home before their summer plans get disrupted. Who doesn't go on vacation in the summertime? I mean, they just do. Summer gets here, and generally speaking, it's a school year decision. Let's get into the new school system so for the kids, or let's get out of this school system, one of the more expensive ones where we've been paying these property taxes. Let's get into a school system that doesn't have these, but it's a school year driver. When the school year starts, the driver is, for all of us, because we're all proud, we're human beings, man, I'd love to show off my house for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. It's a fact. That's what people think. And before the snow flies. And once winter's here, it starts all over again in spring. But more importantly, guys, nested within those 4 quarters of the year are the drivers, definitely, and you can't control those very much that I just mentioned, but you definitely, as a business owner, you cannot control these. I'll start with the bad ones: death, divorce, job transfer, better job, lost my job, I want to be nearer the grandkids, my family's growing, we're having kids, my family's shrinking, the kids are gone, I want to move south, I want to move west, I want out of the Ohio weather. You can't control any of those as it relates to the timing in someone else's life. So what can you control? Gina said it best. What can you control? Somebody say it so I don't have to. Okay, I'll keep talking, I guess. Communication, nurturing, and growing trust. You can control that. You can keep yourself at top of mind and top of consciousness for the biggest sphere of people that you can possibly gather to your platforms, in this case, Bold Trail, because all of these leads automatically download the Bold Trail. You can control that. Gina, Justin, Sheila, and many others on this call and not on this call control that. They control their level of patience, their connection, their communication, their nurturing, their wanting to be of assistance. They control that. They don't control when the timing is right. So a lead that comes in could be somebody who is real, but the reason for them being forced, needing to move, has not arrived in their life yet. You can't control other people's lives. You can control being in front of them often so that when the time is right for them, they think of you. That is probably the most significant difference between lead generation and sphere. It feels easier to stay in front of sphere, right?
One quick thing,
Yep.
we'll upload directly into Bold Trail. The agent that is assigned to them will have to put them in their database.
I apologize. Any other questions about lead generation and what's coming, or any other questions that don't have anything to do with lead gen? I mean, the conversation was rolling when I got on the call. I feel like I've tamped down. Khadijah and Cassie were going to town. Anything?
Sheila, you just said that the assignment process was just kind of a daily rotation, correct?
Yes.
Correct. It's going to be on a
So-
round robin basis.
So we're going to have a spreadsheet with everyone on it. The leaders are going to rotate through, so that it's not like one person every day having to do it. And then like they will just take off, go to the next people on the list. So round robin. And then one of the things that we forgot to mention is, let's say that you are on the west side and you happen to get someone that is on the east side and you're just not comfortable going that far, then what we would like for you to do is to work with someone else, to assign that and work with them and kind of keep that partnership with all of us working. And if you need help finding someone, the leaders can certainly help you do that.
We will definitely, Brian, send out a list to all of those that are engaged in lead generation. You all will know each other because everybody's going to know. So if 15 people sign up for lead gen, you'll get a spreadsheet that shows you all 15 people. Certainly get to know those folks. And if you end up in the situation that Sheila just described and, hey, that's just not my bailiwick, let me get a hold of somebody else.
So actually, I think we're going to create a separate space on Circle for this, where you can just the people who are in lead gen will have access to this space. And so then if you had one that you couldn't deal with, just post it on there. Someone else can pick it up. It's kind of an opportunity space as well.
Brian, does that help you?
Yeah, that's good. What are you thinking in terms of just kind of roadmap between now and launch? Is there any, like, what's kind of the onboarding and overall just launch process?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're going to continue to talk about how to engage with, because we'll share the list of 20. We'll call it, I don't know what it's going to be called on Circle, but it's going to be there. And I think it's going to be there, frankly, it's going to be in the public space, not just shared with those lead generation people. I'd like to share this in the public space, Gina, if you think that's a good idea.
Whenever it's ready, let me know.
Yeah, so it'll be in the public space. And Brian, what we'll do is, now I get my train of thought. We will share that particular template with everyone. So that'll be a step that'll be taken so you guys can all start to get used to, here's kind of what I should be doing when I get a lead. That'll be another step. We're going to share the asset. I think that's another asset, Sheila, if you agree that we should share on Circle with everybody. And that way folks have a sense of, hey, this is a really good hook, or do you want to keep that just lead gen, folks?
I don't know. I kind of think that it's something nice to have for the people that are doing the lead gen.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll share both those assets on Circle, Brian, to answer your question. And we're going to continue to talk about the introductory conversations that will dovetail nicely with those assets that will be shared on Circle.
Good. I got to run to a plane, so apologies for interrupting.
You go. You'll be that guy we see running in the airport. So you go run to your plane.
All right. See you guys.
Mark, are you relegated to the bathroom once again? I thought you got.
I did get a reprieve from that. However, because my wife is a grandmother, she does have the kids on occasion, and I am on those occasions, and this is one of those occasions, I'm relegated to the bathroom for this particular call. Normally I'd be standing in my kitchen and having this call, but I am in the bathroom. Thank you for recognizing that I'm in my bathroom. Is it the towel? What is it? I don't know what it is.
I asked you, I could see your shower earlier. That's it right there.
It's that. It's probably that. Yeah, nothing else. Well, there you go. Well, it's just, kind of here are the sinks. Here's where I'm sitting at my wife's vanity. There you go. There's the vanity mirror right there. It's got two sides to it. The side that scares the hell out of you when you turn it to that because it makes you really magnified. It's frightening. All right, enough of that. Who else has questions? Sierra, you've been quiet all night.
I've been listening.
It's probably a good call.
Yeah.
Khadijah, anything from you? Tamara, you either accidentally or on purpose raised your hand earlier. Anybody else have input? It's 7:01. It's time to go for you guys. I could talk about this stuff all night long.
So you said that it's 20%.
25.
25%. How about
Yes.
if you're in rev share?
If you're in rev share or not, it's 25%.
It's 25%, correct? Okay,
Yep.
cool. Yeah, they
Great
got me
question.
cooking.
Great question.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I was going to ask real quick. You guys were recommending that we start with texting these leads first. Is that correct?
I believe this is from memory. I believe the first step on the steps of 20 is a text, but Grant, I don't know. I forget. Forgive me. Sheila, do you remember? I could try to pull it up. Let me try to pull it up. I
think that was a guideline, and we actually talked about whether some people are more comfortable sending a text first, like, hey, I'm going to be calling you in 5 minutes, blah, 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 versus just making the call. And you might just kind of want to play around with it and see what's most comfortable to you. But there are several touches on the first day, a touch being an attempt to contact them. And then it has a 20-day spread out of how often you touch them and how you touch them on different days until you get a hold of them. And then you're able to start the conversation, set up the buyer's consult, etc.
Grant, I'm sorry I didn't have a more specific answer. I think it's a text. Justin will absolutely speak up if I get this wrong. Justin is a big fan of a phone call. So, but
I know, like, personally, I'm a texter, and that is always my first inclination, just because it's easy to do real quick, if you don't have a second to really pull up a
Yep.
call. But I think as much as I can feel awkward on phone calls, I feel like they are usually more effective in getting an immediate response from somebody.
The cool thing on this, Grant, is that it gives you scripts with each one of them. You're not just the list that we're providing you of the 20 things, and I think we shrunk it down to probably 18 or 17. It's not just, hey, text them, have a good day, hey, email them, call them. It gives you exactly what you can offer and what you might want to say on that particular text, email, or phone call.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I think it depends on the situation. I think with these types of leads, like let's take a Realtor or Zillow.com lead. I've got a property to talk about when I call them, so I can have the MLS up in front of me. I can talk to them all day long about that property, like I built that house. With these types of leads, and Sheila, jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's more of just a general, more broad sense of, hey, I'm looking to buy something. I'm not sure when, I'm not sure how, but I have an interest in buying something. So the phone call may imply a little bit of pressure that they're uncomfortable with this type of lead. So I really think I really think it's situational as far as what type of lead it is. So in this case, the text may be more effective, and I would follow. Sheila is the expert with these form leads, and she's the one that's had the great success with these. So I would suggest, I would suggest that we follow her lead on. No pun intended. We follow her lead on what the best way to get the most effective results are with this type of lead.
Sheila, before you answer, please allow me, and then please go ahead. Guys, I think that we've given you a significant hook for these conversations. I don't want to give away the hook because I just have a lot of faith in it. Now, Sheila, you may feel differently. You can give your input in a second. But we've given you a hook that's probably going to start the conversation along the lines, Justin, of what you just said, which is, yeah, you're interested in buying a house, but we're offering them an asset that you're going to deliver to them via email. And I have a very high level of confidence that these conversations are going to go in a manner that's much more comfortable because of the hook we're providing than your typical lead. Now, it does have the element, Justin, of what you referred to earlier. We're going to be asking questions about buying a home and curating these in the best way we can figure out with the algorithm. So without giving away the hook, Sheila, do you have any input on that?
So for me, texting was better for me because it fits my personality. But if you're very comfortable calling, then that's probably the right thing for you. And I don't know who all was there on whatever night it was, but Bob Petty trains that you call, you hang up, and then you call right back. So, and
I love
he's
that.
very successful at that. But that's something that works really well for Bob. It doesn't fit in my personality, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong. It works fabulous for him. So
yes, that's that that's that salesy approach to lead gen that Bob is comfortable with, that Sheila and many, I'm sure others on the phone call aren't. He does that. If you haven't clicked with you, you call somebody and hang up, and then they see the number show up on their phone again, they're likely to answer. It's an old sales tactic. If you want to use it, use it. If not, text. If not, email. The template we're going to provide to you, I'm pretty darn sure it starts with a text, but
It
however
does
it
start with
starts,
text. Yes,
thank
it does
you.
start with the text.
Thank
But I personally am a caller. I would rather make the call, get them on the phone, get the appointment set up, and go on to the next one. I mean, on a phone call, you can get it done like that. You could text back and forth with people for days and never actually get an appointment with them. But if you call them and they answer, you are 90% there. If they
Let's end
don't,
with-
then start the texting thing, you know.
Let's end with
That's
this.
me.
Everything so far that has been said is valuable. There are nuggets here. It's 8 minutes after 7. I really want you guys to be able to get back to your families. Again, I'll talk about this all night. Whatever works for you, number one. And number two, Gina said it, Justin said it earlier. Getting to the buyer conversation is the point. And I'm going to highly suggest that everybody write this down. When you're talking with people for the first time, write this down. Be curious. Give information. And get information. Those are the only 3 things that are ever on my mind. And I'm not saying that because this is what I do, that it's the cat's meow and the end all be all, but I think it will give you a level of comfort and confidence entering into conversations. And you can have conversations via text, email, or in person. I like Gina's approach. I also like Sheila's. All of them are good. Be curious. Give information. You've got that built in because you're going to provide them with an asset. And get information. That's it. That's all a conversation is about, guys. Let's keep our conversations, the initial conversation, the first impression conversations, that simple. Gina would agree with me, Sheila would agree with me, and Justin would agree with me. They're doing 3 things. They know it intuitively. They're doing 3 things. They're curious about the person they're talking with. They're going to give the person they're talking with information. And they're going to get information. That's all this conversation is about. Period. And it will lead to what Gina talked about earlier, a buyer appointment, a buyer consultation. Call it what you want. Be curious, give information, get information. You can apply that across the board. I can be at the grocery store, at a party, at a funeral. Yes, somebody actually asked me about real estate at a funeral once. Happened to be my dad's funeral. He was my cousin, so I gave him a break. All I care about when I'm engaging with people about real estate and they ask me, how's the market? How you doing? In this case, they're going to be calling you for a particular reason. You're going to be calling them for a particular reason. Is I'm curious. I want to give information about real estate. And I want to get information that allows me to take them to the next step. Guys, keep in mind the biggest positive about lead generation, where you're talking to strangers, is they had to have clicked on the ad for a reason. They want information. They're curious. And you're going to get information from them. Be curious, give information, and get information in that order. Be curious, yes, I'm saying it a lot. Get information and give information. And keep your conversations that simple in your head. We need not project into the conversation that you have with a stranger anything that you are concerned about. Don't project that. Sorry, I try not to say don't. There's no reason to project that. Just be curious about the person you're talking to. Give them the information and get information from them so that you can get to that next step, which is what Gina said, a buyer consultation.
Yeah, that consultation, I mean, out of the leads that I've gotten in the office for a consultation, I mean, it's like 98% of them convert to a sale.
Yes, they do.
As soon as you can.
Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of times at my consultation, I'll try to call the lender while we're there, start their pre-approval process, and get their MLS search set up all at the same time. And once those two things happen, you're off to the races.
Yep.
Let's just take a poll right now, and I'm diving off a cliff. I have no idea what the answers are going to be. When I have a buyer consultation, Justin said 98%. I'll match that and say 98% of the time I end up helping those people, assisting those people to buy a house. Gina, when you have a buyer consultation, what would you say your percentage is?
I don't know if I can say 98%, but probably at least 90%.
Sheila.
Oh, I'm not that high. I'm not even close.
50-50?
I mean, sometimes people fall off because they just
No,
can't
no,
buy right then.
No,
or
I'm with
other
you.
reasons, so.
Sheila, 50-50, 40-60, 35-25.
30-70.
30-70. 30% of the time, Sheila gets a transaction out of a buyer consultation. Anybody else on the call? Justin said 98. I said 98. Gina said 90. Sheila said 30%. Anybody else? If you get in front of somebody, how often does it convert into a transaction? Anybody? Khadijah.
Sorry, guys, I'm cooking. But I wouldn't say 90. I would say about 70%.
70% love it. Revamped home group. You're muted. Don't care your level of experience. When you get sat down in front of somebody as a buyer, what do you think your conversion rate is? I know what Tony's is. It's 100. All right, that's enough, guys. Thank you for being here. This is being downloaded. It will be on and available under the AMP videos tomorrow. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. And we'll keep rolling on this lead generation thing. Have a good evening.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Matt.
Bye, Matt. Bye, Tamara. Bye, Gina.
See ya.
Bye.
Laura, Brian, Mark. And one by one, they dropped off.